Welcome back to our conversation about reclaiming respect in relationships with adult children. In part one, we explored three powerful strategies that can transform how your children see and treat you. We discovered how stopping the endless chase for approval, embodying dignity rather than demanding it, and developing emotional independence can begin to shift these challenging dynamics. If you haven't watched part one, I encourage you to start there. These principles build upon each other, creating a foundation for the profound transformation that's possible in your relationships. Today, we'll complete this journey with three additional strategies that have helped countless parents move from feeling dismissed and devalued to being genuinely respected and appreciated by their adult children. These aren't quick fixes. They're powerful shifts in how you show up in these relationships. Shifts that can restore the dignity you've always deserved. Let's continue with our fourth powerful step. 4. Establish clear boundaries and enforce them. It can be difficult to acknowledge, but sometimes the patterns in how our adult children treat us develop partly from how we've responded in the past. In essence, we can unintentionally show people what kind of treatment is acceptable over time. If you found yourself allowing dismissive speech, ignored preferences, or your time treated as less valuable, these patterns can continue, often not out of malice, but because they've become the established norm. Setting boundaries isn't about creating conflict or distance. It's about clearly defining what kind of treatment you will and will not accept, and then consistently enforcing those standards. Of course, many factors influence relationships, but focusing on boundaries is about reclaiming the influence you do have within the dynamic. Robert, a retired business executive who had run his company with clear expectations and calm authority, found himself increasingly frustrated with how his adult children treated him. They would interrupt him mid-sentence. They would make major family decisions without consulting him. They would sometimes even criticize his lifestyle choices or spending habits. At first, Robert tolerated these behaviors. "It's not worth making waves," he told himself. But over time, he realized that each time he remained silent in the face of disrespect, he was effectively endorsing it. So Robert began establishing clear boundaries. When his son interrupted him, he would calmly say, "I'd like to finish my thought." When his daughter made comments about how he should be spending his retirement savings, he firmly stated, "I've managed my finances successfully for decades, and I'm comfortable with my decisions." When they planned family gatherings without considering his schedule, he simply declined to attend, explaining that he would join next time if his availability was considered in the planning. The initial reaction was predictable. Some pushback, some testing of these new limits. But over time, something profound shifted. His children began to see that their father valued himself enough to expect respect. And because of that, they began showing it more freely. If you've been allowing treatment that diminishes your dignity, know that it's never too late to establish new expectations. The people who truly value you will adjust. Those who resist may need time to adapt to this new dynamic, but in the end, relationships built on mutual respect are healthier for everyone involved. If you're finding these insights valuable, I'd be grateful if you'd take a moment to click the like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us reach more people who might be facing these same challenges in their families. Now, let's continue with our fifth powerful step to reclaiming your dignity. 5. Give generously, but not without limits. As parents, giving comes naturally to us. We give our time, our support, our resources, often without expecting anything in return. This generosity is one of the most beautiful aspects of parenthood. But when that giving becomes unlimited, unappreciated, or expected, it can actually damage the very relationships it's meant to nurture. When you continuously give to someone who doesn't show appropriate appreciation, you don't build love or respect. You build entitlement. Your children stop seeing your contributions as meaningful gifts and start seeing them as obligations you're required to fulfill. George had always been extraordinarily generous with his adult children. He provided financial help without hesitation. He would drive across town at a moment's notice to help with childcare or home repairs. He prioritized their needs above his own plans or preferences. Yet despite this constant giving, George felt increasingly taken for granted. His help was rarely acknowledged with genuine gratitude. His children seemed irritated when, occasionally, he wasn't immediately available. And when he experienced health challenges and needed their support, most were too busy to offer meaningful help. George made a courageous change, not out of resentment, but out of recognition that the current pattern wasn't healthy for anyone. He became more selective about when and how he helped. He stopped automatically saying yes to every request. He began asking directly for help when he needed it, rather than hoping they would notice. At first, his children were confused, even frustrated by this change. But as weeks turned into months, a remarkable shift occurred. The help George did provide began to be genuinely appreciated. His children stopped seeing his support as an entitlement and started recognizing it as the generous gift it truly was. And perhaps most significantly, they began reciprocating, offering help without being asked, showing up when he needed them. If your generosity has become expected rather than appreciated, it may be time to introduce some healthy limits. This isn't about keeping score or withholding love. It's about fostering balanced relationships where giving flows in both directions and where your contributions are valued rather than assumed. 6. Create a life rich with meaning beyond family roles. Perhaps the most powerful way to transform how your adult children see and treat you is to show them, through your actions, not your words, that your life is full of purpose and meaning independent of your identity as their parent. After decades of making your children a central focus of your life, it can be challenging to shift this perspective. But when your adult children sense that your happiness and fulfillment revolve entirely around them, it creates an uncomfortable pressure. They may begin seeing you not as an inspiring, multidimensional person, but as someone whose neediness they must manage. Eleanor, a widow in her late 70s, found herself increasingly isolated after her husband's passing. Her response was to focus all her attention on her adult children and grandchildren. She called daily for updates. She offered unsolicited advice on everything from their careers to their parenting choices. She expected holiday traditions to continue unchanged, centered around her home. To her confusion and hurt, her children began creating distance. Their visits became shorter and less frequent. Their calls seemed hurried. Eleanor couldn't understand why they were pulling away precisely when she needed them most. Then Eleanor made a life-changing decision. Rather than continuing to chase her family's attention, she joined a community garden project. Initially, it was just something to fill empty hours, but it soon became a passion. She met other gardeners who became friends. She began donating extra produce to a local food bank, where she eventually started volunteering. She joined a book club that discussed topics that had nothing to do with family matters. 6 months later, her children noticed a remarkable difference. Their mother had stories to tell that didn't revolve around family gossip. She missed calls sometimes because she was busy with new friends. She spoke about ideas and experiences that expanded their view of who she was as a person. And something unexpected happened. Her children began calling more often. They became curious about her new activities. They started asking for her advice again, not out of obligation, but out of genuine respect for this woman who was living such a rich, purposeful life in her later years. When you build a life that engages and fulfills you, independent of your role as a parent, you become a more interesting, more inspiring person to be around. You shift from being someone who needs attention to someone who commands it through the way they live. This doesn't mean loving your family any less. Quite the opposite. It means bringing a fuller, more complete self to those relationships. Throughout these 2 videos, we've explored 6 powerful strategies that can transform how your adult children see and treat you. This isn't just about changing a relationship dynamic. It's about reclaiming the dignity that has always been yours. If dismissive treatment has wounded you, take heart. Your path forward isn't paved with confrontation or clouded by resentment. It's illuminated by a powerful truth. You have the wisdom, the strength, and the right to transform this relationship by transforming how you show up in it. To review all 6 principles we've covered across both videos. Build self-respect instead of seeking approval. Embody dignity instead of demanding respect. Develop emotional self-sufficiency. Set and enforce clear boundaries. Practice generosity with healthy limits. Create a meaningful life beyond your family role. Will this journey challenge you? Absolutely. Will there be resistance, both from your children and from habits deeply rooted within yourself? Without question, change that matters rarely comes easily, but I've witnessed the extraordinary transformation that awaits on the other side of this work. Parents who once felt invisible in their children's lives now receive calls just to get their wisdom on important decisions. Grandparents once excluded from family planning now find themselves honored guests whose preferences shape traditions. Men and women who once dimmed their light to avoid inconveniencing their children now shine so brightly their families are drawn to their warmth. This transformation happens not because their children suddenly changed, but because these parents changed how they carried themselves in the world. They reclaimed their power. They remembered their worth. They stood firmly in their dignity, and their children couldn't help but notice. The respect you desire is already within your reach. Not in some distant future, but beginning the moment you decide to honor yourself first. The parent who respects themselves teaches their children, by powerful example, how to offer that same respect in return. Your age isn't just a number. It's a testament to decades of wisdom, strength, and love you've poured into the world. It's time the people closest to you recognize that truth. It's time you stood firmly in it yourself. The respect you deserve awaits, not because you'll demand it, but because you'll embody a dignity that naturally invites respect. If you found value in these insights, please consider subscribing to our channel and clicking the bell icon for notifications. Your support helps us create more content addressing the real challenges we face as we age with dignity. Please also share this video series with anyone you think might benefit. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments below. Which of these 6 steps resonates most? or perhaps share a time when you successfully reclaimed respect in your relationships. Your experiences not only help me create better content, but they also inspire others facing similar challenges. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I look forward to continuing our journey together in future videos.